The newly released Global Trade Growth Atlas 2022 has put the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, in the spotlight because the region is forecast to lead the world in terms of export growth over the next 5 years. The report by DHL Express shows that by level of economic development, emerging economies are expected to generate 45% of the absolute amount of global trade growth between 2021 and 2026.
The good news is that particularly for Asia and ASEAN and Thailand is that Southeast Asia and South Asia really perform very well. They perform very well on 2 dimensions, on speed and scale. So scale is the size of the economy and the size of trade, and speed is the extent and the speed to which they're growing at. And I can tell you that the Philippines, I can tell you that Malaysia, I can tell you that India, I can tell you that Vietnam, and I can also add to that list Thailand, are growing impressively on a large scale. In a way, I look at it as a pretty developed economy. In the study, we call it an emerging market, but you'll see one of the pages in the study that they feature well, as I said at the beginning, in terms of scale and speed.
In contrast to the economic forecast worldwide, trade growth is expected to become a driving force against inflation and supply disruptions. The report said that with inflation at multi-decade highs and economies slowing down, trade powers will accelerate growth, lower prices, and diversify sources of key inputs. It is even more crucial for companies and countries than it was before the present wave of crisis.
For me, is reaffirmation and confirmation that trade is alive and well, and trade is very resilient. In fact, if you look at all the data points and you look at the summary of those data points, when you talk about trade, it's more, it's faster, it's broader, and it's changing. So more trade than before the pandemic. The next 2 years are expected on a global level to grow faster than pre-pandemic. It's broader in the sense that emerging economies are really getting a bigger slice of the pie, so to speak. And when I say it's changing, I think this is one of the interesting things, is that emerging economies is definitely not just a quantity story anymore, it's a quality story. So I think the scorecard, as a whole is very positive for trade, but I think trade in a way is a little bit the salvation and the solution. Trade lowers inflation, trade, which is very much on people's minds at the minute, trade allows people to keep on buying and selling and driving growth.
When talking about the outstanding performance in this report, Pearson made a point that he does not usually pick the winner or say who is doing better or worse than the others.
Purely from a factual point of view, I think Vietnam as a country was one of the sort of winners within this report. All these countries are on a different export and growth curve, and I think Vietnam performed very strongly.
Pearson said, however, the element that puts any country at the top or bottom, so to speak, is focus. And different levels of trade at different periods of time have different focuses on trade, how high it is on the list of focuses for the country. So, it is a story of focus.
The emerging economies are becoming more creative, more innovative, and more digitally connected. So I think advanced companies in advanced economies now need to recognize that they're competing with companies that are innovative, are connected, are digitally very savvy.
Tulip Naksomphop Plau, reporting for Thai PBS World.